Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. This is Rachel Klein, and I will be your presenter again today. Today, we are looking at some reports in the donations module. So there's 3 of them specifically we're going to talk about today. All right, so like I said, today we are talking about donation reports, specifically the log report, the giving summary, and the deposit slip. Okay. Let's go to the log report first. Now, if you attended the webinar yesterday about the browse screen, if you print from there, is going to give you the log report. So this is just a different way to get to the same report you would have gotten through the browse screen, okay? So as soon as the log report opens, it's going to open up to the filter tab. And again, if you were in yesterday's webinar, we already discussed this first tab in depth. But I am going to go over it again today for a different report. But you have several tabs across the top here. Filter, group and sort, columns, fonts, and then this additional options tab. If we leave this report alone, so we open up the log report, we don't change anything here, first thing we're going to notice is the date is already filled in for the current period. So it's looking at all of 2025, okay? So if I go ahead and just hit print, it is going to give me fairly lengthy report organized by giver, and it's going to give me each transaction information. So each donation that was received within that time frame, it is going to give me the details of that report. If you work in the accounting module and you've run the transaction journal, it's going to be very, very similar style report. It's going to be very transaction-based type of information from the default. Okay, now there's also a lot of customizing we can do in here as well. But this is going to be the basics of what the log report is going to look like with the default settings. Okay, so you're going to have the giver. It's going to be grouped by the giver. So the giver's name here. And then it's going to be organized by the date. So then we have any of their transactions they have given organized in date order. So if we go down here to Mel Miller, you can see Mel is the group. Here's his total donations. And then a subsort of that is going to be the transactions themselves organized in the date order. So this is the donation date order, starting at the earliest, going through the latest, okay? And then over here on the right, you're going to see it's also giving us subtotals. Now, if you like this report layout as is, perfect. You can customize it. So if I close out of here and we go to the group and sort tab instead, right now we're sorting or grouping here by giver. Sorry, I had a little cough there. And then if we go to the right, we're grouping by field 1. So grouping by field 1 means we're going to take that first sort field, which is giver, and we're going to group that first. So this is going to be this bold section, okay? If I then decide I want totals only, as long as I have group by field 1 checked, I can pop over here and check totals only. And if I hit print, it's going to do just that. It's going to take my giver and it's going to give me the total. So no more detailed transaction information. So this is a great way to get a report of what each giver gave and their total amount that they gave, okay? So if you want to just quickly see for the year so far, how much has each of my donors given, this is going to be a great way to get that report. Still the log report, you're just giving a total only for giver, okay? Now, for example, let's say I want to see a total only for my donation date. Swap out giver, put in donation date, keep it grouped by field 1, keep it checked totals only, hit print. Now I'm going to get a very different report. I'm going to get each day or each donation date, so each day giving was entered, and then it's going to give me the total of the giving for those days. Still going to give me a total transaction account number, and it's still going to break down the total donations for me as well down here at the bottom. Okay. Now, let's say uncheck totals only. I'm going to go back to giver, which is the default. But then here down sort field 2, I'm going to do donation date. And let's say, I don't want to group by field right now. I will show you the difference. But again, this is going to give us that first layout of that first example that we saw. Here's the subtotaling over here. If you don't like the subtotaling over here on the right, you can come down here at the bottom, uncheck show subtotals, hit print. And then again, we're going to get a little bit of a different report. So it's simply going to give us the amounts. So subtotal for this example under Carolyn, if we kept the subtotaling box checked, it would give us a line and then it would say 110. But without that subtotaling box checked, it's simply just giving us transactional information without the subtotals. Okay. Now you could also do group by field too if you wanted to. So then this is going to give us the giver and then the donation date, but it's going to group the donation date. So if I hit print, again, it's going to give us another bolded line for the date. So under Carolyn, for example, we have the donation date here with a total and then this donation date here with a total, still giving us the transactions listed below. Okay, really lots and lots of options here in the log report. Columns tab, same thing. Whatever information you want to see on the report, you want it over on the right under visible. Everything that you have available to show on the report is going to be listed on the left. So if it's on the left, it's not going to be on the report. If it's on the right, it is going to be on the report. So if I hit print, our first column is going to be transaction number, then donation date, then batch code, then check number, account, and amount. Batch code's looking pretty empty. Let's say we want to save some paper. If that's the case, come back here to columns, push batch code over to the left, taking it off of the report, and then you can click print again, and that column will be omitted. Okay. You can also adjust your column list. Say you have some really long account names and you want to stretch that column out. Maybe you have some really lengthy check numbers. Over here to the right, you have a column width. You can either go up or down depending on how much more room you need for that field or that column. If it's not enough characters long and the text is too lengthy for the width you've set, it is going to wrap. So that's another reason why you might have some extra pages than what you need. If that's the case, try stretching out your column width a little bit. Also, the order of the columns is set here as well. So if you want the donation date to be your first column on the report, simply highlight it, hit the big chunky up arrow. That's going to shift it up first in the list, hit print. And now you see donation date is our very first column. Okay. I know I say this a lot if you've been to my events. Come in here and really just play with the different settings. You can't break anything in here. It's going to reset back to the default when you close out. But come in here and kind of play with the settings. See what you like. See what report information, what layouts are best for you and for your committees or your councils that are looking over things. All right, let's jump back to the filter tab. We did kind of skip over this. Filter tab does just that. It filters out the data to show what you're specifically looking for. So if you don't change anything here, the filter is going to be set to include everything within the data curd. If you want to focus in on one specific person, you can do so by just selecting someone and then hitting print. And then it's only going to show you the donations for that person. Okay, it's still going to give you this really great total reporting information down at the bottom. If you want to focus in on an account, so say I want to see everybody that gave to general fund. Choose general fund. You can adjust your group and sort if you want to. Hit print, and then the report is only going to show you those people who gave to general fund. You want to search for a checker reference number. If you want to search for all the donations that a specific user put in, you could choose that. If you want to see donations of just a particular batch code, say you just want to see all your online donations that you've put in, choose that batch code and hit print. I don't have good data for that. Giver number range. If you want to report on everybody who has a giver number from 200 to 400, you could put that range in. If you don't use giver numbers, don't put anything in that field. Data curd, you can focus in on a whole year. You can go multiple years. You could do month, week at a time. This is very flexible for your from and to dates. Date posted, Date posted is the date you are physically sitting at your computer and you hit the post button. That is your date posted. So my date posted could be today, which is the 26th, but my date occurred or donation date could all be back all the way on Sunday the 22nd. Date posted is a helpful filter. If you posted a donation batch, say today, but you can't remember what date occurred you used, you could clear out your date occurred boxes and focus it on the date posted of today, and that will show you everything that you did today. Okay. Transaction number, if you know what the transaction number is, you could type that in. Same number in both boxes, or you could do a range. And then the amount, again, same thing. You could do, $35.36 in both from and to boxes, or you could do a range. Up to you. Okay. Here's that show subtotals checkbox. If you like to see the subtotals, keep that there. Save selections as default. Again, we touched on this a little bit yesterday if you were at yesterday's event. But if you have a layout or a report that you run regularly here with the log report, specific layout, specific filter that you want to keep every time you open up this screen, set your tabs how you need them, check Save Selection as default, and click Print. That will save that as the default layout moving forward. And then the next time you come in here, it already knows what you need. Okay. So that is the log report. The fonts tab, this is super straightforward. I'll be honest, I rarely go in here. But if you want to adjust the font for different sections of the report, you can do that here, whether it be the page header, the columns, or the body text. Additional options, this allows you to set indicators for different types of givers. So if you want to see who your visitors are, who your members are, or who those donations givers are, you can do that. Date for giver numbers, this is simply when you generate the report and the giver numbers that show are always going to be for the last day of the year. But let's say you want to see what their numbers were back at the end of the previous year for some reason, you could adjust that here. Typically, this is not something I see used unless someone has a very, very specific reason as to why they want to show different numbers for the reporting period. Okay. All right, that's the log report. Again, come in here and just kind of play around with it till you get a layout that you like. Back up to donation reports. Let's look at the giving summary. Giving summary is going to have the exact same filter tab. So once you get a hang of one report, typically that filter tab or those groups and sorting or those columns tabs are going to be reused in other areas of the program. So it's really nice once you get familiar with it, you already kind of know how it applies to other reports. This report, though, when you open it up, is going to be on a specific date. It's always going to show today's date or whatever your date is down here on your machine. We can leave the date occurred for the specific date that pops up, or you can put in a range. So I'm going to do a range here just so you can first see what the purpose of this report is. Let's hit print. This report very clearly is going to come in and it's going to take or create a summary of all of your giving, hence the name Giving Summary. It's going to use your date occurred. So whatever your donation date was used when posting the batch, it's going to take the total, so what the total was for those donations for this day. If you used batch codes, none were used here, but let's say you had a batch code for 9 a.m. worship and you had a batch code for 11:15. If you had that, it would then split out the two batch codes, giving you the totals for those two. And then it's going to go through and it's going to take all of your giving accounts, so all those different pots that people wanted their money to go towards, and it's going to list them out here with the total amount. Okay, this report is not going to give you detail. This report is not going to give you, Sally gave 500 to general fund and then Bobby gave 220 to missions. It's not going to give you that much information. It's very much a summary of what the giving looked like on a particular date. Okay, so you can run this for a month. You can run it for the whole year. You can run it for a specific day. It's up to you, but this report is very much so just a summary. What giving went to what pots on what day. Okay. And then like all of our reports, you scroll down to the end of the report, it is going to give you a transaction count. It's going to give you the total amount of donations. And again, it's going to split it out by cash, check, or other, give you the date range of the report, and then any other criteria is going to be listed down here. These summaries at the bottom of all of our reports are so handy because it allows you from one report time to the next time you run a report to then compare the two and make sure you're comparing apples to apples to make sure your criteria matches up. So you're looking at consistent data within different time frames. Okay, so this can be super helpful to make sure you're referring to this correctly. Okay. All right, so that is the giving summary. Last report I want to talk about is the deposit slip. I'll be honest with you, this is not a report that I see used too terribly often, or maybe I should say people don't call me about it with issues, so maybe that means they're using it, but it's just super simple. But this, again, allows you to see or print out your information from your deposit or from your donations that day. So let's go ahead and find a day that we did get donations. So let's go with January 5th. If you use batch codes and you want a deposit slip by batch code, definitely select that. This is going to be banking information. This is going to be pulled from the accounting module. If you don't use the accounting module, you can manually check this in as well. Manually type this in, excuse me. If you want to include any accounting entries, so maybe you had some income that you entered over on our accounting module, if you use that and you want to include that as part of this deposit slip, you can definitely check that box. Over here to the right, you can include your cash and coin. So how much loose plate money you received, you can put that in here as part of your deposit slip as well. If you want to split out cash and coin, check that box. And then down here at the bottom, every donation that was entered into Enter Donations, if you put in a check number, it's going to show up down here and it's going to give you the amount. So again, this is just that itemized list. If you want to add a check or delete a check, here are your options here. And then if we hit print, it's going to give us very basic, good information if that's something you're wanting to use to give to your bank. But again, nothing overly complicated. It takes every donation that you entered with a payment method of check that has a check number, and it's going to itemize it here for you.